Welcome to The Voiceover with your host, D. Foster III, where we discuss relevant topics that affect the culture with bold, independent commentary. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and encouraged.
It's Friday somewhere. Welcome to the Voiceover Now podcast. I'm your host, D. Foster III, CEO and President of Wake Up Global Networks International. Welcome back. And as a matter of fact, not only welcome back, but Happy New Year. May all lang synes be. I want you at the beginning, I want you to like, I want you to subscribe, I want you to share, I want you to follow. I am CEO of Wake Up Global Networks International, and I want to say Happy New Year. You can tell I'm excited about 2025. Now, before I introduce our show for today, if you have not, you've got to go back and be part of the replay crew from the Prophetic Unpacking 2025 through 2026, the prophetic predictions that is right here on this channel. I know you will be blessed. No, I did not get an opportunity to finish, and I plan on finishing, but I want to say thank you for your support. We're off and starting running another year. It is going to be great. It is going to be glorious. Let me ask you this question. In 2025, now if you missed it in 2024, I'll give you absolution. But in 2025, see, I'm already in the future. In 2025, you cannot miss the Sunday mornings of the Voice of Hope Connection. It is an inspirational word that God sends us every Sunday at 7 p.m. live upload to get us through the week. And of course, if you miss it, if you sleep, if you're in church, you can be a part of the replay crew and get your word for the week. I want you to like this. I want you to subscribe. I want you to share. I want you to follow. For the last several weeks, I've been having on the Voice Over Net podcast, my brother and friend, Brother Darren Muhammad. He has a tremendous radio show, The State of the City, which airs every Saturday, 12 noon unto 2 at 1590 in the DMV, 1590 AM, or on the internet, www.1590wfbr.weebly.com. Conscious relevant content. Well, I asked him several weeks ago to come and have a conversation towards the end of the year of what we see happening, to maybe give clarity to some past events, which we have, and then to prophesy, to predict, what do you see coming up? This is part 3. I want to carry you into part 3. I want you to like it. I want you to share. I want you to subscribe to this. I want you to hit the thumbs up. Push this network this year. This ought to be one of the top rated networks with this conscious content. I want to say Happy New Year's to April J., CEO and owner of WPB Media, and Pastor Maple Hall. We love you and your family so much. Thank you for this golden opportunity. Thank you for helping us to spread the message that the Spirit of God has given us. But I want you to go into this with me and Brother Darren, part number 3. And I didn't put a title on it because we have that knack to flow wherever the Spirit goes. It's prophetic, it's relevant, it's cultural, and I believe you're going to be blessed. I want to hear from you. It's thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com. thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com. Until this, I want you to listen. I want you to be blessed. I want you to hear what the Spirit is saying. Here it is, Brother Darren Muhammad and me in conversation. That you gave misrepresentation of what would happen, and
Right.
to have all the city. See, and this is what I'm saying about our people. Our people will never go forward until we get out of the realm of emotionalism.
Right.
Everything is not about emotions, gender, female, male. Some
Right.
things are about principle,
That's right.
principle, divine.
That's right.
So your grace, where you rallied people and you built for it. You said you built for it, right? You built for it. The people rally and go down to the courthouse and rent buses and go over to Greenbelt. And after petitioning, you are blessed to get house arrest. Now, I would think, this is me, this is just me. I would think you'd be so blessed to get house arrest and not to be in prison like a Kathy Pugh, not to be in prison
Right.
like others, Nat,
Yeah.
others
Cheryl Glenn, Nat Oaks. We could go on
that
and on and
you,
on, Right.
for some lesser crimes, for some
Right.
lesser crimes, that you use your daughters, okay, you want to be home with them, you would be grateful, you would be humble. But then
Yes.
I hear, my brother, and I want your thoughts on this, a rallying cry of a petition to, after all the grace and mercy that has been shown, now you want President Biden to to give
Pardon.
you a presidential pardon, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. I didn't think it would happen.
Right.
What is your thoughts on the audacity of this, and are you surprised with the outcome?
Well, I mean, it really, to me, when you think about it, and this is why it does no good to have people in positions of power, uh, in terms of these black politicians that they don't know how to execute power. Again, when you understand that it was Biden's Department of Justice that brought the charges, so again, Eric Barron was the U.S. attorney, but he works with his of course boss was Joe Biden, right? And Kamala Harris, since she's the vice president. So what should have been done is that you should have been asking during the campaign rather than co-signing. And I always say only those with bad credit need co-signers. So why would you co-sign for Joe Biden before he dropped out, or co-sign for Kamala and tell the people that we gotta support Kamala, and you didn't ask for anything in advance of again giving your support to Kamala Harris?
Yeah, and I thought it was, just to be honest, I thought it was a sign of lack of gratitude. I mean,
Oh yes,
it is a blessing, and so the answer, and it's just been one thing after another. Permission to
I
travel.
agree.
You could be in jail. You could be,
Yeah,
but anyway, this goes to show you how what you said before, that the old guard of self-serving leaderships
right. Yes, sir.
are tumbling.
Right.
And I just be honest too. I heard a list of, a matter of fact, I was listening to your show this past week, and they named a list of you played a clip where they were naming the list of the new representation of city council in Baltimore. Can I tell you,
Yes,
I
sir.
am zero impressed,
Yes. That's right.
zero impressed. Here is my thing of a public servant. A public
Yes.
servant is not someone that sits in the ivory towers
That's
and
right.
milks the breast of the hard working class, the people that struggle, that go back and forth to work every day. No, the public servant versus the selected are in the
Right.
trenches fighting,
Yes.
like the Perry
Yes.
Mitchells,
That's right.
like the politicians of old days, even like the Willie Adams, who
Yes,
made
sir.
sure that our community, these people don't give a damn, excuse me, about our
No,
community. All they
you're right.
care, in my opinion, is about position, is
Yep.
about sitting at the king's table, taking
That's right.
pictures in Washington, going down to the governor's mansion, and leaving our people. How do you lose your house over water bills with all
Yes,
with
sir.
all the money that's in Baltimore, with all of the
Right.
COVID, the pandemic money that was given?
Yes, sir.
We still have elders losing their
Yep.
homes, is because we got people in position that have been selected and not
Right.
elected by God, because the heart of God is the people first. The
Right.
people first. The
That's right.
people first. And when you have the heart of the people will make sure that you lack nothing. Listen, this is what my daddy used to taught me, and I learned this in pastor. My daddy told me, he said, son, as long as the people are your priority
That's
and you are
right.
there when they need you, you don't have to ask them for nothing. You don't have to
That's right.
ask them for finances. You don't have to ask them for your support. They will give it. And you know what, Brother Darren? I
Yes,
found that
sir.
to be true. I've never asked for
Yes.
an anniversary. I've never asked for somebody to give me some big day. The people have always wanted to bless me. Why? Because my heart is for the people. What happened
Right.
to that concerning our recently selected leaderships? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, they never came from the people. They're not of the people. They're people, as we've talked about before, that are selected and not elected. They're selected before they offer them up for the election. But they come from the political mob bosses historically. They come from the political organizations. They come from those up in the suites as opposed to those down in the street. So this is what we get. They come from individuals like George Soros and the Open Society Institute. They come from the Annie Casey Foundation here locally. They come from those that may be tied to John Hopkins and Bloomberg School of this and Bloomberg School of that. So when they get in, they're not, again, implementing policies that's going to transform the lives of the masses of our people in Baltimore City, but around the country. What they end up doing is that, again, as Jesus said, you can't serve two masters. You're going to love one and hate the other. And based on how these cities look, we already know who they love and who they're really working for, and this is what we've seen in Baltimore City, but in every major city in America and globally. And I think that as we go into 2025 and the veil is lifted, then people begin to see these interconnecting relationships and see who are the, again, pharaohs that these pawns are really working for, that the people, again, no longer are looking to them, but we start looking at just making an example out of one of them and then move that one out the way so the others know that now it's a new day. But I think that even
Yes.
with President Donald Trump coming in, having a Republican coming in, or he's not a Republican in the traditional sense of the Republicans, but a
Right.
populist. But with Trump coming in, then of course it's going to offer up and make things very, very difficult for those that's been doing business as usual in Baltimore City and these other cities as well.
It's interesting you say that because I've addressed the issue that I knew, again, the heavens are always telling, right? The heavens are always telling. So I knew who would be the winner. And one of the conversations that I have is because we're moving into a major time of change, into a major time of transition, there had to be a change agent in the office. And my brother, you said it so clearly a few minutes ago. It's not about the man, it's
Nope.
about how the man is going to move to bring
Right.
us into change. See, and again, when you talk to low vibratory people, people who are stuck in the 3D, people who are
Yep.
who've been socially engineered by media, they can't understand what we're talking about right now. But
No.
it, it, for Kamala to win, in my opinion, you would have just had new person, but the same old thing. You understand what I'm saying? Same,
Yep.
just following the blueprint. But
Right.
the energy of the universe says that it is time for change.
Yep.
Who will best bring about change? Now, you may not agree with all the change, but
That's
change
right. That's right.
necessary. Who will
Right.
bring about the change? And that's one of the things I've tried to get the wake up crew to make clear that it's not
Thank you.
about personality, it's not
Nope.
about agenda, it's not about, this was about, okay, we're moving into one of the most pivotal times in history. Who is the catalyst? And that's the way I look at he
Yep.
is the catalyst. It's not
Right.
about party, it's not about name, it's not about fortune. Who is the catalyst that will move
Right.
this country forward? We must move forward. We have to move forward. And there has
That's
to be
right.
one who will take the bold steps to get out of the box,
That's right.
another saying that you say, unbought and unsold, not paid for, right? Who
Right.
can step out and say, this is the new thing that we ought to do to move people forward. And a lot of our people, my brothers, you said, because we've been socially engineered through media and black race,
Yep.
we don't understand that. We were stuck on party, we were stuck
Right.
on, but it ain't got nothing
They
to
stuck
do.
on the label. They stuck
Yeah,
on the labels,
that's it.
So,
That's
so,
it.
so I'm not looking at the labels. I'm looking at what you're putting on the table. You hungry, you go to the doctor, and you sick. You ain't looking at the label. You're looking at what he put on the table in
That's
order
right.
to take the necessary medicine that's going to prolong your life. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes,
so
sir.
that's what we have to do. Not get caught up on, again, principalities, but the principles. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
And one who's able to take principles and use them to apply them to what is taking place inside the country and what's taking place inside of the world right now and on the world stage right now. And that's what we've seen with Donald Trump.
Yes, sir. As we come and bring this particular segment, turning the corner towards a close, but you are a master at many things. But one of the things I admire your God-given gift to connect the dots. I've never seen, and this is literal, probably the closest is Baba Dick Gregory, somebody who can go behind the scenes and reveal what's really going on. I want your thoughts on this recent healthcare situation that I'm calling it for now. where the CEO, it's been reported that the CEO of United Healthcare was murdered by someone's family, by
Right.
Mangione. And I think I texted you when I heard about it that it's very
Right.
interesting. I met his dad before moving to Louisiana. I lived
Uh-huh.
in Turf Valley, and of course that whole resort is owned, or at
Hmm.
least back then was owned by
Yes.
Mangione
Mangione family.
and
Yes, sir.
did many retreats at the hotel out there in Turf Valley and came in contact with Mangione. And
Hmm.
so it was very surprising because I understand the background, the wealth, and the
Right.
opulence and the generational wealth that he comes from.
Hmm. Right.
To hear that a Mangione was involved. But I was listening to your show and you begin to put some major dots together. Can you go into that a little bit for us?
Yes, sir. Well, and if you hear any noise, I apologize. I'm picking up my daughter. She not only is she um, play the viola, but she's here at Peabody, and they had a little concert
Wow.
today. Yeah, this is after
Congratulations,
she
my
just.
brother.
Thank you. That's my 16-year-old, and she just finished up the Nutcracker at the Baltimore School for the Arts. So she finished up the Nutcracker last night. Had to get up this morning. She had a concert at Peabody where she also plays the viola. My daughter inside.
Wow.
So I
It's not
apologize.
too many people that I know play. I think the minister is the only person that he plays the
You
viola.
played the violin. Yeah, violin and viola, they're pretty much the same. One's just
Oh
a
yeah.
little smaller. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, sir. But
So
no need to apologize. We appreciate you taking out your weekend with your family to be a guest. So no need to
think
apologize. We appreciate it. Yes, sir.
well, let's get into it. Well, this CEO, as we were told, of United Health Care Group, probably the largest insurance company, one of them in the world. Because I find it hard to believe that healthcare insurance company, because when you start talking about Lloyd's of London, that's been around here for years, right? Other companies as well that's been around here for years. So this little small company that was founded in 1977 is not as large as those companies are, such as Lloyd's of London and some of the other ones. But what the story was that on December the 4th, the CEO, or one of the several CEOs, I'm kind of surprised that they have more than one CEO. They had three individuals: Brian Thompson, Andrew Whitty, and there's another one. His name Helmsley. I forget his first name, but they're the three CEOs of this company. Then they have satellite or offshoot companies as well. One called Change Healthcare, one called Optum, OPTUM, and there's another that they were attempting to buy called Vital Care. And then there's
Yes.
also another one that they were just attempting to buy called Amadeus Diaz or Desus out of Louisiana that the President Joe Biden's Department of Justice and several attorney generals of several states, one including the attorney general here in Maryland, they just blocked that purchase about 3 weeks ago on November 15th. So anything that's happening with that company, the Department of Justice knows about in depth. But we were told that Brian Thompson was coming. He was in New York and staying at the Midtown Hilton Hotel, and that he was coming out of the building at 6:45 in the morning. Now, if you're president and CEO of a company and a corporation at large, you have a driver, you have a security detail that's on you, and you also have like a secretary or personal aide that travels with you. What the media hasn't asked: where was the driver? Where was the security detail? Where was the personal aide? So, and if you play the story straight, how would the shooter know that Brian Thompson was coming out of that building at 6:45 in the morning? Where was the security and where the security cameras? The only images we keep seeing is from one angle, as opposed to
Right,
there are many
right,
different
right.
angles of that building and different security cameras all over Midtown Manhattan. So,
Absolutely.
but
Yes.
if we play the story straight, we were told that he was shot 3 times, then some said 5 times, and we were never told what hospital he went to. Never told what doctor treated him or attempted to treat him to save his life. Then we were told that he died from his injuries. We were never given a press conference by a coroner, by a medical examiner, anyone in New York to update us. Then we were told that that the funeral took place. He died or was killed on that Thursday, December the 4th, and that they've already had a funeral for him on that Monday. So the United Healthcare Insurance
Wow.
headquarters is in the headquarters insurance headquarters is in Minnesota. Of course, where you have the governor Tim Walz, who was the running mate of Kamala Harris, and of course Senator Amy Klobuchar, I believe is her name. But we were told that this was an assailant, and it was isolated, and question that we don't know that he was there for a investors conference, and that meant all of the CEOs were there. So you say if the killer was targeting him, why didn't he target the other two CEOs as well? So those are questions that the media hasn't answered, or even been asked or offered up. So what we didn't know, and what we wasn't told, that the company United Healthcare and their subsidiary Change Healthcare, they had been called before Congress and Senate joint hearings regarding a data breach that occurred in February. And in that data breach, over 100 million patients' information, of course, was exposed. They bought in several companies to help clean up the data breach in terms of a cybersecurity company. And one of the cybersecurity companies that was brought in was a company by the name of Palo, P-A-L-O, Alto, A-L-T-O. And what we found out was that one of the newest investors who bought shares of Palo Alto was none other than the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. So what had been happening for the past couple of years, that also this company, United Healthcare, was under investigation for insider trading by the Department of Justice. And they had, of course, also initiated an investigation from the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, for insider trading. And the CEOs were accused of selling millions of dollars worth of shares to investors without telling the investors that they were under investigation by the SEC and the Department of Justice. So all of this was public information. And then they bought in, and on May the 1st of this year, Andrew Whitty, and as he was being questioned by, I think it was Senator Warren, Elizabeth Warren, and she said that this company was a runaway monopoly and it was too big to manage and they should chop it up, meaning that they should sell it off. So fast forward to December the 4th now, after all of these fights that they've been having with the Department of Justice. Every time they went to court and the Department of Justice was taking them to court, they were winning all their cases against the Department of Justice. It wasn't until this recent case that the Department of Justice and the five attorney generals just had a successful case to stop the purchase of this company, Amadeus, which is in Louisiana, from going forward. But all the other cases they beat. So the first thing you would ask, if someone is killed, as we saw here in Baltimore City a few years ago with Officer Sean Suter, who was shot and killed, well, he was supposed to go to court and testify the next day. So that's the first thing you ask if somebody's shot and killed. Were there any court cases, right? What was happening that maybe led up to him being killed, right? Did he owe somebody some money? You start looking at this. Was this domestic, right? Because they said that even Brian Thompson and his wife were living, separate lives. But they also said that he had gotten death threats. So if he had received death threats, then you start asking, well, you could trace phone calls. All this modern technology that we have, you could find out who was sending death threats to him, right? This is what is not happening, because what the media has done is try to socially engineer the public to reduce the conversation to say that this was all about a disgruntled individual that wanted to get some type of procedure done or surgery done, or wanted to have a payment paid for, and the insurance company wouldn't pay for it. Nothing could be further from the truth. We just came through the pandemic, scamdemic, where people were told if you didn't take the jab, you didn't take the COVID shot, you wouldn't have a job, right? Or people were released from their jobs because they couldn't get either a religious exemption or health or an exemption of not having to take the shot. So a lot of people lost jobs, were laid off, were of course displaced. There was no history of any Americans, black, brown, red, yellow, white, going back to their jobs, shooting and killing their supervisor, shooting and killing a doctor, a nurse, or anybody else, right? So that story just don't fly with what they've been telling. So now this manhunt, there's a lot of signs, symbols, numerology with the metaphysics. He shot and killed on December the 4th, which leaves 47 days before the election. The building that he was shot coming out of course, Hilton Hotel, 47 floors, when you understand that, right? So they're on this manhunt. They told us that whoever the shooter was, that the shooter came up from a bus from Atlanta and then was in New York. He stayed at some type of facility. This is what we were told. Then we're told the shooter rode off on a bike, right? And on a city, these e-bikes that they're owned by Citibank. So they said the killer rode off on a bike and went through Central Park. We saw the picture of the killer that they showed us. we saw really there was three different people, three different pictures. They showed one, he had a black hoodie on, a gray hoodie on. Then he had on a black mask, a blue mask that you wear in surgery that became popular during the pandemic, the light blue mask everybody was wearing, right? Then uh we was told that they found a backpack in Central Park. So now this manhunt is out. Everybody's looking. We're inundated over the entire Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with this story about insurance executives and executives of corporations that don't feel safe. So they started taking down their social media bios off of social media as if there was a hunt that everybody was out to shoot a CEO. You know what I mean? Right? So this was Wall Street. So rather than talk about Wall Street's greed and insider trading, they tried to make the conversation and reduce the conversation about, like a Denzel Washington movie that was out 22 years ago called John Q, in which Denzel was his son falls out on the baseball field and he needs to get a heart transplant, and Denzel got to go through all these loops that they make you go through to get all your medical information, and then say we may not be able to pay for him to get a heart transplant. And Denzel goes to the hospital, and one thing leads to another. Then he's holding everybody hostage until they agree to kind of give his son a transplant. That was all they said, based on a true story. But anyway, so this is what we was being fed. Now, fast forward to this past Monday, the FBI and local police convene on a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and they arrest a person of interest who they said was traveling with a false ID. Said his name was Mark or Michael Rosario. That was the New Jersey ID that he presented them with. They said he had a backpack or duffel bag with a weapon in there and other items that could be used to kind of alter a gun with an obliterated serial number. This is what we were told. So he wasn't arrested for murder, but this is what he was arrested for. But by the time the nighttime news came on, they were saying that this was not just a person of interest. This was the person who they believe was the shooter of, again, Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, and his name was Luigi Mangione. Well, Luigi Mangione comes from, of course, one of the probably second to or third to the D'Alessandro family from Little Italy, which gave us, of course, Tommy D'Alessandro Sr., then Tommy, who became one of the mayors out of Little Italy in Baltimore for numerous years in the 50s and the 60s. Then his son, Tommy D'Alessandro III, became the mayor as well. They lived on Albemarle Street in Little Italy, and who was their neighbors and friends growing up was the Mangione family. So the Mangione family kind of got their start in Little Italy as well. They went on to accumulate wealth in real estate and as a developer in construction, and also in terms of the purchasing of land in Howard County that they built Turf Valley Country Club, also Hayfield Country Club, and they also own WCBM radio station 680 on the AM dial, and also it's also 99.1 on the FM dial.
Wow.
Which they own since, they also own Lorien Healthcare System, which they have, I think, 11 Lorien nursing homes and senior centers around the state of Maryland. So they own a lot of facilities. So they've accumulated a lot of wealth. So if you wanted to believe the story that Luigi Mangione wanted to kill a CEO, he wouldn't have to drive all the way to New York. You know how many CEOs and businesses and corporations have banquets at these country clubs every year, my brother?
Absolutely.
Right. So the story just didn't add up with what they were telling us. But again, what we haven't seen outside of the family, his mother said that he was living in Hawaii, and then somehow he came back to the mainlands and went missing, but they didn't say when he came back to the mainland, right, Luigi? So his mom says she filed a missing person report in San Francisco. So again, going back to San Francisco, the only other Italian family from Baltimore that we know is in San Francisco is Nancy Pelosi, right? Who grew up as Nancy D'Alessandro. So there's a story just doesn't add up with what they've been telling and selling us in terms of to the public. There's no motive here at all
Right.
that in terms of this. And of course, we just came out of celebrating Thanksgiving. We know a lot of families, traditions, they get together for Thanksgiving. So you say, well, he didn't show up for Thanksgiving and you didn't file a missing person report then. So, they tried to say that he went off the grid and all of a sudden he just reappeared and had a gripe against the healthcare industry saying that they're parasites. And you're saying, well, how would that be true when his family owns one of the largest, again, healthcare systems in the state of Maryland and Lorien Nursing Home?
Well, and I appreciate you giving the backdrop because I think that's very key that we're not getting from mainstream media. But my question, I got a lot of questions in this, and just some of the dots that we've been told don't connect. Case in point, if you tried to apply for a surgery and you were rejected, your family are multi
Yeah,
millionaires.
yeah,
You would
yes,
get any surgery in the best doctors in the world, in my opinion, unless,
that's
and
right.
maybe you can answer this, is there any indication that he was estranged from the family at all? Did you get a hint
None,
of
none,
none? Right.
none,
So
none,
the story just doesn't make sense. I'm not
no.
I'm not buying it. It's more to it. I told our
Yeah,
tribe, I said, now I'm not going to deceive you and make up something. I don't have all the pieces, but I know that there's more to the story that
yeah,
will come out.
yeah,
There
yeah,
is in my opinion, there is a connection between him and the CEO. And I don't know if this was corporate, if this was personal, but Brother Muhammad, the story will continue to unfold, and we're going to have you back. And as you can unravel the details as you have today
yeah,
to connect
yeah.
the dots. But it just doesn't add up. And I didn't know that the Mangione family also had their hand in the healthcare industry. This
Yes,
also makes this more bizarre that
right.
they
Yeah,
had their
yeah,
hand.
they,
In it.
yeah, they too had a data breach as well, and that was the interesting part because uh, United Health, through their subsidiary Change uh, Inc., they're due in court on, I think Tuesday is the 18th. They're due in court for settlement talks with many of the victims who had their information exposed through the data breach. So they're going to have to pay out millions of dollars. Then they're due back in court in January as well. So they were trying to confine it to just one state, which they had a big data breach in data breach in Tennessee. But because they're headquartered in Minnesota, the judge said we're going to do a multi-jurisdictional settlement with numerous patients, and there are going to be more lawsuits coming on against them. So I think that when you see something like this happening, you got to ask, were there any court cases pending, any court cases coming up, and a large amount of money? Because it's estimated that 1 out of every 4 Americans had their information breached with this data breach that happened in February of 2024.
Wow. Unless there is a connection between Lorien and United that we don't know about yet, and
That we don't
unless
know about.
some
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
deal went wrong that we don't know about yet, but there's something in the like they
Yeah.
like they'll be that there's just something in the
Don't
water
sit right.
that,
Yeah.
that don't
Now,
sit right.
yeah. Now the other part, as I mentioned yesterday, was that they kept showing Luigi Mangione's picture next to Nino Mangione, who's one of the delegates from the Mangione family. He's a delegate in the state of Maryland
Yes,
that
yeah.
represents Baltimore County. He's been fighting and leading the charge with many of the citizens in Baltimore County, Carroll County, Frederick County against big business that wants to bring these data centers and what they call the PJM interconnector into Maryland. They have data centers in Virginia. It's destroying plant life, animal life. People are complaining about the loud noises these data centers making. So part of it could be a land grab as well, and to silence Nino Mangione from talking about this, because as I shared with my audience on Wednesday night, when Bill Cosby was fighting the same fight against a company named Kinder Morgan, then they came with the scandal against Bill Cosby because they wanted his land to run
Yes.
an energy pipeline through his land. So a lot of times there's as you have alluded to, there's more to the story oftentimes is being said. I think they really want to silence the Mangione family because they're probably one of the few radio outlets that have really talked about the PJM interconnector and how this will, of course, be a land grab against families that have owned land for years in this part of Maryland right now.
Wow. Well, we're going to continue to depend on you because I know this is one of your gifts. You do your homework, you do your research, and my brother, you go behind the scenes to give us the truth and nothing but the truth. As we wrap up, as time has come and we wrap up, any closing comments, my brother? Again, I want to say thank you. We've been having an intense conversation with my brother and friend for many, many years, Brother Darren Muhammad, who is the host of the Saturday, the State of the City radio show, who you have to tune into if you haven't, every Saturday locally in the DMV, WFBR 1590 on your AM dial. And you can get it on Weebly, www.1590wfbr.weebly.com. And you won't regret it. And I'm telling you from firsthand information, for years I've been following Brother Darren. I remember when he was on, it used to, brother, weren't you, there's a time you came on, I believe it was 3 times a week, wasn't it? Like a Monday.
3 times a week out there, 4 times a week, 5 times a week.
I
When my,
mean,
my daughters were growing up, I would take my daughters with me to the station, brother. They'd be
yes,
sitting
sir.
on the manager's lap while we doing the show because they'd fall asleep in the chair.
This brother ain't new to it. As he says,
Gee.
this brother is true to it, bringing us the information. Any closing thoughts, my brother?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity, my brother, as we enter, of course, this season that we're going into in the ending of 2024 and getting ready to go into 2025. We expect bigger and better things on the horizon, my brother. So thank you for this opportunity, and let's continue to have these conversations. Of course, just God bless you and your audience and this beautiful platform that you have, and avail to me and to my audience and to those around the globe that are listening.
My brother, that's the least. You've been so generous to me over the years, constantly. This is the least I can do. I appreciate you. You brought so much information, and this is just the beginning of you being a regular voice on as much as your schedule permits on the Voice Over There podcast. And I want to say congratulations on just the accomplishments of you and your daughters and their achievements. You often mention, and I hear you on your show, what your daughters have done and how they've mastered certain arts in their schooling, and that all goes because they were raised up, in the words of the Bible, trained up, prepared
Yes.
in the way that they should go. So, my brother, I want to say congratulations on leaving a legacy that will impact generations and generations to come.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. I thank you. And on behalf of my daughters, their mom, of course, the ancestors,
Yes,
and of course, none of this could be possible without their God-given talents, right? That given an opportunity to nurture and develop. So just thank you as well, all right? And the
yes,
village, because
sir.
the old saying goes, it takes a village. So, the
Yes,
family
sir.
is the village and the village is the family.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Always. Well, we want to say thank you for joining us on the Voice of an Air podcast. Our guest has been Brother Darren Muhammad. Again, brother, give one last time how people can reach you. I hope people reach you, reach your show. They will be the better for it.
Yes, sir. We're on WFBR every Saturday, 12 to 2, 1590 a.m. And we're on Instagram at State of the City, Baltimore, and Facebook at Darren Muhammad, Darren Muhammad, Muhammad, that you can tune in and listen to the show and then go back and listen to our previous podcasts through that broadcast where we actually have the shows, of course, there.
All right, don't forget to join us every Sunday morning, 7 a.m. for the live upload of the Voice of Hope Connection, where we just spend about 5 minutes giving you an inspirational word that will take you through the week. Until next week, this is your host, D. Foster III, CEO and President of Wake Up Global Networks International, reminding you that you have a voice. Keep lifting it. Peace and God.
Thank you for being a part of The Voiceover. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay connected to our upcoming shows and guests. Instagram at The Voiceover Radio. Twitter at DPropheticI. That's the letter D, Prophetic, EYE. If this show has enriched you in any way, please share The Voiceover among your circle. Until next time, keep allowing your voice to be heard.